Hi there! On our last class we talked about layers and I asked you to create layers for this file Ferris wheel-layers. You were supposed to create one layer for each cabin, one layer for the wheel and one layer for the base, the structure of the Ferris wheel. If you didn't solve the exercise, you can still check the file solved Ferris wheel, which is the solution to the last exercise that I gave you. Also, you can send a message to me if you had any doubt on how to do it. That being said, let's go to the goals for today. Today we're going to talk about common mistakes using layers. Yeah, I know you just worked with layers, you're bored, but I still need to tell you some common mistakes that users tend to have. So let's go to the file triangle, squares, and circles. It's this file here. Usually on layers, when you start working with them, you tend to forget which layers you've hidden, which layers is locked. Sometimes you open a file, you know that you drew something, you know that you made an artwork, but on the next day, where's the artwork? I can't find it. What can I do? Did I lost it? Did I delete it? Well, most of the time it's our own fault, especially when we're starting to learn how to use Adobe Illustrator. So, if you know for sure that you drew something, that you made an artwork and it's not there, the first thing you have to do is check if the images are hidden. So you go to the layer panel and check if there's any layers that is hidden. If there is, mark them to see all the artwork that you've lost. And that's a common mistake. So check the hidden layers. Another common mistake is trying to draw on a layer that is locked. So let's say I get the curvature tool, which is this one, and I try to draw something with it, and I just can't, it's not working. Don't worry, we're going to have a class to talk about the curvature tool. Right now, focus on the image that you see. There's a pencil forbidding me to draw. When you see this pencil, just remember, the layer is locked. You can't draw anything. You can't create art on a locked layer. I know I said this on the last class, but it's really important and people tend to forget. So, if you want to draw something, make sure you have a selected layer that it's not locked. Now, look at the image. I can draw with the curvature tool. Don't worry, we're going to learn how to do this, okay? I'm going to delete these. Another important thing, I'm going to unlock the triangle layer, the ellipse layer, and the squares layer. And another important thing is to move the objects to front and to behind. It's a common mistake as well when you're starting to learn. Let's say I want to put this triangle behind the squares. I taught you on an earlier class that you could right-click on the object, choose Arrange, and Send to Back. Is it going to work? No. How come, David? You taught me on the last class that if I did this, the object would go to back. Well, it does go to the back, but it goes to the back of the line inside the layer, inside the same layer. This triangle, the big triangle, is inside this layer. The squares are inside another layer. So if you send to back, arrange, send to back, it actually goes to the back of the same layer. So if I check here, this object is here, is the last. If I send to front, right click, arrange, bring to front, it goes to the top. If you want to move an object behind another with this function, you have to remember that the object must be in the same layer as the others. So if I want to put this triangle behind the squares, I have to first move the triangle to the square layer. I click, select, hold, and drag to the square layer. Release, and there. Now the triangle is behind the ellipse, the circles, and in front of the squares. If it's in front of the squares, it means it's on the top of the layer. Why are the circles now in front of it? Because the circles are here. The ellipse layers is in front of the squares. Therefore, it's in front of this triangle, not the others. If you want the ellipse circles to go to the back, behind the squares, you have to drag the layer behind the squares. The V, the triangle is still in front of the squares, because when I dragged it, it went to the top of the layer. Now, if I use that function, which is right-click, arrange, and send to back, it will go to the end in the square layers. Isn't that cool? Okay, that's it for today. What I need you to do is to open the triangle, squares, and circles file and exercise. Try moving them around. Send to back, send to front. Make a mess of this art. Don't worry. The important thing is for you to practice and try to understand how it works. Remember to mark the visibility and remember to lock and unlock when necessary. Also, remember that if you select several objects with the Shift key, you can group the objects. Right now, I selected 4 of the rectangles. Right-click, group. Now it's grouped. Alright, that's it. Practice with this file, triangles, squares, and circles, and I'll see you in the next class.